I just was kind of going off the cuff there, and I screwed that up. All right. Let's start that over. Let's start that over.
Welcome to the Greatest Lists podcast, a show about music and lists. This season, your hosts Jason and Eric are counting down the top 25 guitar solos of the 80s and the top 25 guitar solos of the 90s. Think your favorite made the list? Tune in and find out. Take it away, boys.
Welcome back to Season 2 of Greatest Lists, a music and talk podcast featuring lists of the greatest songs of all time. I am Jason, your host for this finale of Season 2, or at least the first half of Season 2. Joining me, as always, my co-host Eric.
What's going on?
This is it, man.
This is it. Man, this list went by quick.
It does seem a little quick, but I'm glad the way we split up the first.
Yeah.
Did the first half and second half, so this will be fun. But yes, we've reached the apex of our list of the top 25 guitar solos of the 90s. When we were first talking about this, I had some songs rattling around my brain, but I remember one day at work, we were going back and forth on Slack on what should be number one, and it was actually you who picked this song. There's no big reveal here. You guys have read the title of the episode. But you're the one that suggested that song, and it took me a minute. And then I pulled it up on my phone, and I was like, yes. The band fits the 90s era.
Yeah.
There are two freaking epic solos in this song. So just got to be it, man. So I'm glad that you pointed me to this song. Was there something initially that pointed you to Alive?
No, I've just always loved the solo at the end of the song. I've always loved it. It's
okay.
So epic.
So it is. It's coming in at number one on our list is Alive by Pearl Jam.
Behind the music.
Our spotlight today is on guitarist Michael David McCready. He was born in Pensacola, Florida, but his family moved to Seattle shortly after his birth. When he was a child, his parents played Jimi Hendrix and Santana to him.
Wow.
While his friends listened to Kiss and Aerosmith. What a nice mixture there to get you into music. McCready first started playing the bongo drums. But then at age 11, he purchased his first guitar and began taking lessons. In the 8th grade, McCready first formed his first band, Warrior, whose name soon changed to Shadow. Originally a cover band playing during free periods at Roosevelt High School.
That's amazing.
The band eventually began writing original material and recording demo tapes. After high school, McCready worked at a pizza restaurant where he befriended musician Pete Droze. In 1986, Shadow relocated to Los Angeles and attempted to cut a record deal. However, according to McCready, quote, "We weren't that good of a band, and we didn't realize it until we got down there. I guess we lost our focus, got really bummed out, came back to Seattle." Unquote. In 1988, Shadow split up soon after returning to Seattle, and McCready lost interest in playing guitar for some time, stating that he was, quote, "so depressed about life," unquote. He cut his hair, he enrolled in a local community college, he spent his nights working at a video store.
Wow.
He credits his friend Russ Riedner for getting him out of, quote, "my college mode and back into playing guitar." McCready was inspired to pick up his guitar again after attending a Stevie Ray Vaughan concert.
It'll do it to you.
He gradually went back to playing guitar and finally joined another band called Love Chile. His childhood friend Stone Gossard went to one of the band's shows and appreciated McCready's work after hearing him perform Stevie Ray Vaughan's "Couldn't Stand the Weather." After the demise of Gossard's band Mother Love Bone, he asked McCready if he wanted to play music together with him. And after a few months of practicing together, McCready in turn encouraged Gossard to reconnect with his Mother Love Bone alum Jeff Ament. The trio were attempting to form their own band when they were invited to be part of the Temple of the Dog project, founded by Soundgarden's Chris Cornell, as a musical tribute to Mother Love Bone's frontman Andrew Wood, who died of a heroin overdose at the age of 24. This project eventually featured vocalist Eddie Vedder, who had arrived in Seattle to audition to be the singer for Ament and Gossard's next band, which later became, of course, Pearl Jam, with David Crewson as their drummer. So outside of Pearl Jam, that was a little history on how Pearl Jam came to be. McCready formed a side band in 1994 called the Gacy Bunch, later renamed Mad Season, with John Baker Saunders of the Lamont Cranston Band, vocalist Lane Staley of Alice in Chains, and drummer Barrett Martin of Screaming Trees. They released one album. In 2000, he formed the band The Rockfords with his former high school bandmates from Shadow and vocalist Carrie Aker of Goodness. So he got his whole band back together.
He's getting the band back together.
Yeah, playing those study hall periods in school. McCready's acts of choice has mainly been Fender Strats with Pearl Jam. He is known to play Gibson Les Pauls now for live performances of Alive. McCready has also used many types of Stratocasters, vintage and modern, even including left-handed Stratocasters with reverse strings, so that the slanted bridge pickup would have more tremble on the lower strings as opposed to the higher strings. This was, of course, a common practice of Jimi Hendrix, who played right-handed guitars even though he was left-handed. I thought that was interesting because I hear, and we'll get into it, but I hear a lot of Hendrix with his playing, especially with this song.
Yeah.
Let's get personal.
So I was an early buyer of the album 10. Still my favorite album of theirs, and it's not really close to me. I mean,
it's not even close.
I'm not trying to diss their other albums or anything, but I did go out and buy Yield, which has several songs I really like. And you know, the singles that Pearl Jam's released over the years, Daughter, Better Man, they're really great. But as far as albums, 10 is where it's at for me. And I remember blasting that all through high school and in my college years in the late 90s. It's just an album you can put on and leave on, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think MTV had a lot of influence on their success.
Oh, of course.
Because I do remember the music video for this song, several from the album. And of course, you know, Jeremy won like 34 Moon Men that year that it was nominated. I mean, they were up there on stage like every other song.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was an early adapter of Pearl Jam. I've slacked off a lot over the years. I think Yield came out in 97 or 98 when I was in college, and that was really probably the last one that I've really dove in on, you know, like a full album. But
right.
What's your kind of personal history with Pearl Jam?
I remember where I bought their first album. I remember seeing the video for this song, Alive. This was the first single. I remember seeing the video, and I was at Target like 2 nights later and saw the album on the shelf, saw the CD on the shelf, and bought it just because I'd seen that video, and I wore that thing out. Oh, I love that album so much. It's such a good album.
It is.
This one, and I actually like the second one too immensely.
Versus,
yeah, I love that album. But yeah, I remember seeing that video for the first time on MTV and going, "Yeah, this is awesome," and buying that CD a couple days later. So, and then my sister is a huge Pearl Jam fan. I kind of fell off after their third album, just because of life in general and things like that. But yeah, those first two albums though for me were almost flawless, especially the second one. But
and so impactful just in the grunge music scene and how strong that came on around that time, and very iconic to me.
Yep. I
The
agree.
first, well, probably the first two, but yeah, that's that their sound and just the power behind Eddie Vedder's voice and the lyrics and oh man, just so good.
Yep, I agree.
The breakdown.
All right, so this solo, yeah, like you said, it's basically the second solo, the end solo. That's really the one we're talking about. But he starts in about 3 minutes and 39 seconds in, and you get about 30 seconds of him playing. And like I said before, it's so Hendrix. The sound of his guitar and the style that he plays, you can really tell he's got that influence. And I don't know if he, particularly set up his guitar like that just so he could sound more Hendrix, if that's really what he was going for. Like we said, he reversed the strings and all that. But
Right, yeah.
I love his style, and not just in this song, but just overall. And the second solo, though, I mean, it starts at 4:16 and lasts for pretty much the last minute and a half of the song. It's so epic.
Yeah.
And for a song that has such an iconic opening riff, I mean, you instantly know what the song is, when you hear those first few notes and it kicks in. It just didn't hit me right away that that end solo is so epic when we were first talking about and thinking about solos from the 90s, because I'm so in tune to, that we know what Alive is, it's that riff, but it's the solos too. I mean, it's so much a part of what makes the song great.
Yeah, I remember reading a story one time that when they were recording this song, they had him play the solo at the end like multiple times, and the producer chopped it up and like pieced together a solo. And when they heard it, they just nobody was really happy with it.
Hated
and
it.
He switched out a couple of pedals, like a Univibe, and then I think a different wah pedal or something. I remember what he switched out, and then he took one more shot at it and played it. And what you hear on the album now is that one final take that he took of the solo. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I was just immensely more happy with that than the one that we had pieced together. So yeah, that end solo is just epic. He just lets it all go, and it just keeps going. And
that's what I was thinking too. I was like,
yeah,
oh, this is good. This is good. When you start listening to it again, and you're like, oh wait, yeah, this does go for a while. Oh gosh, it's like half the song.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's so good. He's such an underrated guitar player because he came out in the 90s, and he doesn't get enough credit for how good he really is. But he shows it in that solo for sure. He is, and you can hear the Hendrix, and you can hear the Stevie Ray Vaughan in that too. In that solo.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, I agree. Incredibly underrated as a lead guitarist, and just thinking, like I said at the top of the show, just thinking about we're putting together a 90s list, how big Pearl Jam was in the early 90s. Right up there with Nirvana. I would put them, and even Soundgarden and that whole sound that came out of Seattle. But I felt like this was fitting. I mean, it's definitely epic enough to make it a number one song.
Yeah, they were they were one of the only grunge bands that still featured a guitar player. I mean, Nirvana broke the mold, and Soundgarden had Kim Thayil, and he had his own style all by himself, but Pearl Jam has Stone Gossard and Dave McCready or Mike McCready, and they were still playing guitar, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Even though they were grunge, they were still playing guitar, and that's what makes this the best solo.
The songs are more, I guess, traditionally structured. Yeah. Compared to some of the other alternative stuff and grunge stuff that was coming out of the 90s that were doing their own thing. They still have more of what we would call more of a rock sound, I think.
Right.
With their music. So, all right, dude. So the number one solo on our top 25 guitar solos of the 90s list is the solo by Mike McCready in Alive. And we're each going to pick a bonus song for this episode. And there's lots I could choose from Pearl Jam. But
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go with a personal favorite of mine. And I'm going to play Say Hello to Heaven by Temple of the Dog.
That's such a great song.
I love that song so much. I love, both of the singles, you would say, from that album. But that album's a great album, too. But the Say Hello to Heaven has a fantastic solo by Mike. And, of course, you get Chris Cornell on vocals.
Yeah.
It's such a great song.
Yeah.
And you're going to take one for Pearl Jam, right?
I'm going to take one from the second album, Versus. It's the opening track called Go. That's probably my favorite song on that album. And and I'm going to ruin it for you, too. When you listen, I probably shouldn't, but I want to share in my pain. So one time I was listening to this album with a friend of mine, and this song was on, Go was on. And the chorus says, "Please don't go on me." My friend goes, "Why is he saying Uncle Wumpy?"
Uncle Wumpy.
And
all right.
From then on, from then until now, if I hear this song, I have to make myself hear "Don't Go On Me" and not hear Uncle Wumpy. This has always been the Uncle Wumpy song to me ever since. But it's still my favorite song on the album.
I'm married to a woman who sings "Everybody Wants to Boogaloo," so I can understand your pain.
Awesome.
That's great. All right. Well, stay tuned to hear both of those bonus songs if you are listening with Spotify Premium. Otherwise, as we always say, use those song whip links in the show notes and connect with the songs in your favorite music app. We appreciate you guys, all of our listeners going through this season with us. And thanks for subscribing, listening along, comments sent along the way. And, of course, you can find us, greatestlistpodcast.com, at greatestlist on Twitter. Those are the two places online mainly where we're at. YouTube now as well. Yep. You can leave comments over there, too, if you want to. But we do appreciate you guys. This was really fun, man. I mean, this is not the end of Season 2. We will be back, and we're going to be back once we figure out how we're going to rank the top 25 guitar solos of the 80s. It might take us a minute, right?
How in the world are we going to pick 25 out of that?
I don't know.
Right.
But also, in the meantime, we have some bonus shows planned. We always do our honorable mentions list, so we've got to do that for the 90s. I've got several still in our list that we came up with to start. And then I've got an idea for a show. I've talked to Eric about it. We might try to pull it off here, which I was calling our retroactive list, which we just want to go and listen to some new music by some bands and artists that have been around for a while. Retroactive.
Yeah, I still like that idea, so we need to make
there's a lot of new music coming out from Extreme has a new album coming out, Metallica. There's this weird orchestra album from Def Leppard.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Susanna Hoffs, Yes,
Carlisle.
Yeah, there's a lot of artists like that have been around for a while, putting out new music, and I thought it'd be fun to try to review essentially some of those new singles coming out. So we might try to put a bonus show like that together.
Yep.
In the meantime, as we try to compile this list, but man, this was fun. I had an awesome time.
I did too.
And I cannot wait for the 80s. It's going to be a battle. I think we're going to be battling over songs, artists.
If you thought I was a fanboy in the 90s, you just wait till we get to the 80s.
There's so much more to choose from. I mean, we might have a list of 25 honorable mentions, so we have to get through. But we'll see how we can do here in the next little bit to knock out a list and start counting down again, man.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we will see you for the second half of season 2 of the top 25 guitar solos and specifically the 80s. We'll see you then.
You've been listening to The Greatest Lists.